You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Clippers Postcast. I am Pete Fox. Thanks for watching us on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out after every game is done. And you can listen to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. I've been covering sports in LA for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio dating back to 2007. Nice win for the Clippers. Kind of exercised some demons, got out a little frustration, worked on some issues, just kind of an all-around complete win there. 116-103, leading by as many as 27. So a game that kind of gave me what I was asking for. One that was never really in doubt, dominant, fun, hassle-free, just kind of getting out those cobwebs. I mean, they had lost 4 of 5 coming into this one. And apparently I wasn't the only one with these sentiments. Ty Lue told the team before the game that he wanted him to thump them. I don't know if that was the actual quote, but that was the sentiment. Go out there and take care of business. And that's what the Clippers did. Harden was feeling it, had a very nice night with 5 consecutive threes, finished with 20 points. No, 19 points. 5 in a row. He was 5 of 9 from beyond the arc. That was another thing that I was really hoping for, that Harden would just come out and light it up. I mean, he was feeling it. You could see the look in his face after he banged down the third or the fourth one. They caught him turning around and he had kind of that fist pump thing going and passing the ball well. A really nice night from Harden. Again, finishing with 19 points, which included 5 threes, 14 assists, and a plus-minus of plus 22. I will say, though, it wasn't all rosy and fields of, what's that saying? Soup and roses? No, that's not how it goes. Fields of grandeur. I don't know. I had to do the Dodger game very, very early this morning, and my brain is a little fried, but it wasn't all as rosy as that victory would indicate, because there were at times I thought that the defense was still a little weak around the perimeter, and it just kind of lackadaisical. Coming into this game, there was a story that was, I think it was on Sports Illustrated, that either, I think it was Paul George, might've been Kawhi Leonard, made the comment that this team has no identity. And they pretty much, since the Grammy road trip, have just kind of been waiting for other teams to go away, to fall apart and lose, as opposed to the Clippers beating them. And I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it. To say they have no identity, I don't know that that's necessarily accurate. It's maybe a wake-up call for them. But to say they have no identity, I mean, their identity's definitely not about defense. It's about offense, shooting the three. Although since the Grammy road trip, they've been, if I heard that correctly, they've been at the bottom of the league since the Grammy road trip. Now, because they were so hot before that and during that road trip, they're still top 2 or 3 in the league shooting the three ball. But in that short period of time since the Grammy road trip, where they've really kind of come back to earth and struggled, they've not been good. And tonight felt good that they were able to bang down 13, shooting 41% from beyond the arc and 52% from the floor. But I still didn't feel like they didn't have a ton of energy on defense at the perimeter, especially in the fourth quarter. They found some energy first quarter rather. They found some energy late in the first quarter on offense, trailed by 1. The Portland Trailblazers hit 4 of 8 threes in that first quarter, and all in all had a pretty decent night from beyond the arc, hitting 15 threes, shooting 44%. So it was a little bit challenging in the beginning, and it kind of had that feeling that they talked about in that article, where they were just going to do what they do and wait for the other team to kind of fall apart and go away. Now, this Portland Trailblazers team has 19 wins versus 49 losses. They're 11-24 at Moda Center in Portland. So they're not a good team. They've already been eliminated from the playoffs, and the Clippers are very good against sub 500 teams, 22-4. So you kind of felt like there should be no problem with this team. So maybe that was their mindset in the first quarter, but in the second quarter, The perimeter defense still kind of lacking, a little tentative, but the good news was on defense is, excuse me, in the paint, they were tough. I mean, they were not letting anything happen in the paint, knocking balls away. And then that in the third quarter was elevated to a ton of steals. They had 12 steals with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. They finished with how many steals? They finished with 16. So that's a nice night on defense, stealing the ball. And it all sort of came to fruition in the third quarter. I mean, just breaking up pass after pass after pass. Kawhi Leonard, 17 points in the third quarter alone, almost outscored the Portland Trailblazers. They had 20 in the third. At one point, they had 15, and Kawhi had 17. He kind of jammed his thumb, went to the bench, so he didn't really play the last few minutes of that third quarter. But I think just all in all, a confident, dominant, ego-boosting win for the Clippers. Good defense in the paint. They ran the break really well. We haven't seen a lot of that. Their transition defense was pretty good, and a lot of it just simply had to do with energy. Some of the comments from Kawhi and others about what's been going on with them over this stretch since the Grammy road trip, where they have not played well and struggled, was they weren't having as much fun. There wasn't as much energy, and they weren't passing the ball. Just all the stuff that they were doing on that Grammy road trip and since December 1st, they have just gone away from. So the good news there is that they know what the problem is, and they know what they need to do and where they need to get to elevate things in these final 15 of the regular season. Yes, 15 more to go. Clippers are now 42-25, 20-14 on the road after the 116-103 win. We'll take the first break and come back and get into a little bit about what they were doing on defense in the paint that was working, right? And whether or not Brian Siemens' take on it was accurate. I tend to disagree with his thoughts just a little bit. We'll talk about that next. All right, tonight's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy. It is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and much, much more. Seat covers. I've gotten some really cool, very affordable, long-lasting seat covers that are more than just like those ones that are like very thin fabric. Like, I don't know that they're leather, but it was like a very durable pleather, and they were in cool colors and really a very good deal. So sometimes you go to the store to buy seat covers, they can be $50, $60, $70. You find them on eBay for a much, much better deal. So I've purchased a lot of things on eBay Motors, brakes and other things that just go inside of the car that aren't necessarily mechanical. But the good news is, with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, if the part is the wrong part or the wrong size, it doesn't fit your car, if it doesn't fit, the guaranteed fit policy will give you your money back, because eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, Clippers, a 116-103 win, leading by as many as 27 in this one. Kind of got a little lazy in the fourth quarter, and that's a little bit of a problem. I don't love that. I would love to see them put up a 30 or a 40-point win. I mean, it happens all the time, but I feel like Ty Lue's conservative with his stars. Like I said, Kawhi banged his thumb up. He sat on the bench for the remainder of the night. Probably not a big deal. We've all jammed our thumb, and it kind of stings a little bit and it's stiff, and you ice it, and by the next morning it's fine. And I feel like that will be the situation for him as well. He tried to get Harden out of there, only played 36 minutes, as did Paul George. Kawhi 28, Zubac's only 24. So he got a lot of them out there. And of course, that is going to take away from your ability to dominate for four quarters. And ultimately, I don't think they needed to in this one. They play Portland again on Friday. So a dominant win, even though a 13-point victory would not indicate that. Although, interestingly, the spread 12.5. I always find that amazing. But back to the comment that Brian Seaman made during the game before we get to the bucket list here that I thought was interesting. Brian Seaman said the focus was good throughout this game. He could see an energy and a focus on their face that this game really meant something. He kind of was saying, look, we all know, we feel pretty confident the Clippers are going to win this game. But the question becomes how they win the game, what they do in victory, like shooting the three. Again, good tonight. Lack of turnovers, pretty good. It wasn't great. There was a few. They had 5 in the first half, 11 on the night. Was not great. You'd like it to be a little bit cleaner. Of course, it was an issue. Brian Shaw mentioned it to Christina Pink at the break. Take care of the ball, because 5 turnovers in the first half led to 10 points for the Trailblazers. They would like that to be better. But when you're forcing as many turnovers as the Clippers were tonight, especially in the third quarter, it's kind of like, all right, it's a give and a take. It's a push and a pull. But the question about their focus, how was their focus tonight? I felt like for the most part, he's right. It was good. It was against a bad team. They only got lazy when they were up like 27 in the fourth quarter, and that is understandable. The starters are out. They're just trying to get to the finish line. And when it mattered, when they were really focusing, they appeared to be dialed. They appeared to be doing what was necessary, and they had good energy. Like I said, I felt their transition defense was good. Their perimeter defense could have been a little bit better, but they were guarding the paint, and that was a nice thing to see, breaking up balls. There was a lot of energy there, and PJ Tucker, once again, had a lot to do with that energy. He's kind of adopted that Russell Westbrook mentality of coming on the floor and providing energy. No points tonight. Didn't even take a shot in 25 minutes. So to have a stat line with 7 rebounds and 2 steals and no points and do enough to be memorable when you didn't really score is pretty remarkable. I mean, it says a lot about PJ Tucker's tenacity and his focus on wanting to be a part of this team and wanting to get minutes and wanting to be in the rotation. And I applaud him for that. Again, I never quite knew what was going on between him and Ty Lue and why he wasn't getting time, because he's a guy that's won championships. He can shoot the three. He loves that corner three. Has made a handful on occasions recently. So it's not like he's a little bit older. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe Ty Lue was just trying to find a place for him. Fortunately, he has. Tonight, it was a little bit easier because not only was Norman Powell out again, but Terrence Mann was out tonight. Nothing major for either one of those guys. I think Terrence Mann had an elbow thing going on, and Norm Powell had I think he was still dealing with that ankle issue. But those guys being out gives a little bit more time to some of the other guys. Amir Coffey played 31 minutes and got the start, had 11 points. Harden, as I said, 6 of 11 from the floor, 5 of 9 from beyond the arc, and 14 assists, part of a double-double with 19 points. And Zubats off to a good start, scored 6 points in the first quarter. He was 7 of 9 in 24 minutes, finishing with 14 points. Kawhi got off to a good start, 7 points in the first quarter, finishing with 24. And Paul George finished the night leading the way for the Clippers in 36 minutes, hit 4 threes. He was 10 of 18 from the floor for 27 points. Let's get to the bucket list now before the final break. In at number 5, speaking of Paul George, he hit a 3. It was a 23-footer at the 11:40 mark of the second quarter. It made it 30-28. As I said, going into the second quarter, Clippers were down 1, 28-27. So that gave them the lead. Of course, it volleyballed back and forth a little bit, but they started to pull away shortly after that. And then Harden got hot, and that's when they put their foot on the gas. He hit a 3 off of an offensive rebound that Tice worked his ass off to get. It was at the 10:21 mark of the second. It made it 33-31. And then another 3 at the 9:15 mark. So just under a minute later, it made it 36-31. And then another one, a step back at the 6:36 mark to make it 44-35. And then a fourth three in the first half for James Harden at the 6:06 mark. He was just red hot right then, 47-35. And honestly, it just felt so good. I mean, it was those threes that he shoots that seem effortless, and they barely move the net. They weren't rattling around, jumping out, hitting the backboard and falling down in there. They were just that ripping the chords, if you will, in Rip City. So I all of those, number 4, because he was red hot. And number 3, Kawhi Leonard, a beautiful pass to Amir Coffey, and then Amir Coffey took the pass right at the block and elevated on the right side of the basket and came under the basket with his left hand and laid it up in it. It was just a really sweet play all in all. Beautiful pass from Kawhi to Coffey, 10-15 mark of the third. It made it 62-52. Then Kawhi Leonard had a beautiful steal, dribble drive penetration, got fouled, and in the foul, he was pushed under the basket, and he had a blind flip at the hoop, almost under the backboard, going out of bounds, so he couldn't see the backboard, and he just flipped it up with his, I think it was his right hand, and it went in, and he had the N1, made the free throw at the 5:44 mark. It made it 77-58 Clippers. And then Paul George hit a three, one of his 4 threes on the night. It was at the 11-minute mark of the fourth, and it was really when the Clippers kind of dropped the hammer and pulled away. 27-point advantage at that point, 97-70. So Paul George early in the fourth had the dagger, and that's what we like to see, right? As I said, they got a little sloppy and a little lazy about halfway through the fourth quarter, and that is expected and understandable. They still win it by 13. If you had the Clippers minus the 12.5, you're a winner tonight. So congratulations, 116-103. We'll take a break, come back and do the superlatives and find out some more intimate details about a dominant win for the Clippers in Portland. I am Pete Fox. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. And you can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Tonight's show also brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Nissan has got a huge lineup of cars. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what advantages could be or adventures could be right around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is super versatile. It's perfect for the city and drives very smoothly around town, taking the kids to practice, what have you. Or if you want to get on a roadie, go to the mountains, it's great for that as well. You can even camp with it. It's a super versatile vehicle, and they're super safe. I have a friend that claims that the Nissan Rogue saved his life, so much so when his car was totaled, he went and got another Rogue. That happened to me too. I got into 2 accidents in the Nissan Altima. Only one of them was my fault, just for the record. And they both saved me. I don't know if it saved my life, but it felt very safe, and the car held up very well. Class exclusive Google built-in is always updating you as far as being your assistant in the car to call on for almost everything. So they have solid, top of the line, state-of-the-art tech. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right in with a 12.3 screen. It's HD, and it's a touch screen infotainment system, second to none. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. And if you need something a little bit bigger because you have a bigger family or you got to haul a bigger group of people around, the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has room for 8, an expansive cargo capacity and a bigger towing capacity as well. It also comes with 4x4 capability and a 284 horsepower engine, again, with 6,000 pounds of towing. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada out for a test drive and see if they fit you for your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. All right, final segment here. Clippers postcast. We come on right after the game and we break it down. Tell you what happened. Clippers win this one in Portland against a eliminated inferior Portland Trailblazers team, 116-103, leading by as many as 27 in this one. And Clippers do what they needed to do. They take care of business, right? And that's what we wanted 3 nights ago against the Atlanta Hawks, a team they should have won, and they got embarrassed. So fortunately, they took that information, they took that humiliation and built on it and used it as motivation for tonight. They have for the most part all year, been pretty good, really good actually, against teams that are sub 500, 22-4. So that was another thing that was surprising about that loss to the Atlanta Hawks, because the Hawks just embarrassed them all over the place. And I am sure that Ty Lue, Brian Shaw, and the rest of the coaching staff did not take too kindly to that. So Clippers came out. It was a little slow and go in the first quarter. They started to find some energy midway through the first quarter. They started to feel it a little bit. Harden got hot. And then in the second quarter, they went on a 21-4 run. PJ Tucker providing a lot of energy. Their defense in the paint was good. Around the perimeter, left a little to be desired. Some sweet alley-oop plays. James Harden had one to Brandon Boston. And at the end of one, it was 60-50. So they felt pretty comfortable at that point. Paul George finished the first half with 13. Zoo had 12. Kawhi had just 7. So a nice second half for him, because he finished with 24. And James Harden had 17 in the first. So they kind of traded off there. Harden had the good first half, and Kawhi Leonard had the good second half. As for tonight's superlatives, the first superlative we have would be the most dialed. Definitely James Harden. Did not miss many. Zoo was better percentage, 7 of 9, but he's a big man underneath. That's expected. Harden, 6 of 11. So over 50%, a very, very effective, efficient night shooting for him. 5 of 9 from beyond the arc, and perfect from the line, where the Clippers were 13 of 15, shooting for 86%. So just to have James Harden dialed in feels good. It's just a warm, comforting security blanket type of feeling tonight. It's not often that Harden is that guy. It's usually Kawhi or Norman Powell. Those are my two security blanket guys that, and Zubats on occasion, that I feel comfortable when they have the ball and we need a bucket, they're going to get it. Tonight, Kawhi Leonard did that in the third quarter with 17 points. Paul George had a very good night as well, 10 of 18, so over 50% as well. Kawhi Leonard, 9 of 16, very efficient. So everybody tonight shot the ball very, very well. But I just felt like Harden was more dialed in than everybody else as far as hitting 5 consecutive threes. As for the biggest thief of the night, that would be Kawhi Leonard and Ivica Zubats, both huge nights in the steal department, the thievery, if you will. And most of that came in the third quarter when they were knocking balls away from the Trailblazers left, right, and center. Zubats had 4, as did Kawhi Leonard. They finished with 16 in all, 12 of those in the first 3 quarters. So they had a very, very efficient night, taking the ball away from the Portland Trailblazers. And for our third superlative tonight, the 6th man of the night would be Daniel Tice. He played 20 minutes. He was 3 of 4, 2 of 2 from beyond the arc, and finished with 10 points, which included 5 rebounds and 1 block shot. So he came out and did what you expect from him, what you want from him. Mason Plumlee got just 4 minutes. So those guys are kind of alternating off the bench as to the backup big man. But the 6th man off the bench tonight, with Norman Powell out and Terrence Mann out, but Mann usually starts. So that meant Coffey got moved into the starting lineup. It's usually Coffey and Norman Powell off the bench. Tonight it was Tice who had a big night, 20 minutes. With finishing with 10 points, and PJ Tucker played 25 minutes, again, scoring no points. Didn't even have an attempt, but he had 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and just a ton of energy. So kudos to him. A round of applause for this entire team tonight. I just feel like, even though it's not necessarily a dominant win, it's a dominant win, but it's not a big win over a good team. They're a bad team, right? So you got to have those sister kissers, if you will, every now and then. You got to take advantage of what's out there, right? You can only play the team that's on the other side of the court. And tonight it was the Portland Trailblazers, and they're not a good team. 2 or 3 nights ago was the Atlanta Hawks, and we all thought they were going to win that game comfortably, and they did not. They looked bad beginning to end in almost every aspect of the game. So it's definitely possible that an inferior team can rise up and beat the Clippers. It seems like it happens fairly frequently where these teams just decide to get hot from beyond the arc because the Clippers' perimeter defense is just a little lacking at times. It's not always terrible. I feel like when they play better teams, when they faced Minnesota in that very low scoring game at Target Center, their perimeter defense was on point. And so we know they're capable of doing it. They just kind of save it for the right opportunity, the right opponent. And tonight, the Portland Trailblazers weren't that team. They did have a good night shooting the three, as a lot of teams have against the Clippers lately. So fortunately, they were able to dominate on the offensive side of the ball and get those steals in the third quarter to pull away to that big lead. Again, leading at the end of 3, 94-70. And all of that just feels good. They'll probably win again. It'll probably be a very similar situation, but these kind of wins are ego boosting, confidence building. You kind of get the cobwebs out and you kind of get back on track. Again, 15 more to go before the playoffs start. So you have to start getting back on track. Got to start getting healthy. Got to start getting rid of these issues or addressing them and improving upon them. Transition defense was better tonight. That's something that's been an issue. So they'll hopefully work on the perimeter defense a little bit. But more than anything, we know that defense is about energy, and they had a lot of energy just across the board in the defensive department. So that feels really good. And if Kawhi Leonard can have a night like that and Paul George can have a night like that, and as we said, they need a third guy, and that guy tonight was James Harden. All of that is solid, encouraging, comforting, and what you're looking for. So nothing too big to complain about tonight. A good win. Let's hope they can keep it up in a couple of nights on Friday, and then they'll move on to face the Philadelphia 76ers in a matinee at crypto.com on Sunday. That'll be a fairly big game for them. But tonight, a 116-103 win, leading by as many as 27. They hold on for a 13-point win. Again, Paul George leading the way with 27. Kawhi had 24. And James Harden, who had 5 threes, finished with 19. Clippers improved to 42-25, 20-14 on the road. Portland is now 19-14 and 11-24 at home at Moda Center. Thank you for joining me again. I'm Pete Fox. Thank you for watching us on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and for listening on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. The postcast comes on after every game right away, and we break it down for you. So be sure to join us in a couple of nights as the Clippers take on the Trailblazers one more time in the Pacific Northwest. Have a good night. We will talk on Friday.